Hi, everybody. This is Julissa. Thank you so much for coming back to my podcast and to listen to my stories. I'm here today because I wanted to speak about this. I think that not a lot of people speak about this. And the other day, I saw a poll that they were asking people this very important question. And before I continue, I just want to say it is just early morning of February 22nd, 2022. I just wanted to speak about this. Like I said, not a lot of people ask. So let me see if you ever find yourself thinking about something that somebody might have said to you when you were a child. Not an immediate family, or it could have been an immediate family, but just things that somebody said to you that was damaging. You know, so the question that I read was it was basically, tell me, as what was the most damaging thing that were said to you when you were a child by an adult. So here's the thing, guys. Like I said, these are the topics that not a lot of people speak about, but it happens so often. I always say, I always believe this to be 100% true. In the workplace, there's a lot of adult bullies in position of leadership because perhaps because of their charisma they had gotten that position, because a lot of companies these days they don't really hire based on skills and experience. They tend to hire, I mean, of course not everybody, but they tend to hire of who they like the most. And a lot of the times, bullies come around and they can really be very charming. They're charming. They're very easy to like in the moment, and then you get to see them the true self. And the reason that I bring that up is because this whole topic about what are the most damaging thing that was said to you as a child by an adult. And let me tell you, if you guys know about me, I have my YouTube channel, but I speak about, for some reason, I don't know what it is. I feel like I attract people to just randomly come up and say things to me, or a lot of unsolicited advice, without me even asking, without me even knowing, just perfect strangers. And the crazy thing about that is the fact that if you're not strong enough in who you are in Christ, that can really do a lot of damage. And if you are a child, that can even do more, because a lot of the times adults, they don't realize that they're speaking to a child. You can be at a playground and an adult person say, hey, you know put your belly, like, don't show your belly so much. You look cuter if you lose weight or something like that. Those conversations are, they're not in the level to be spoken to a child. And if they were in that level, that's why people have parents. But the crazy thing is, like, there are so many adults out there. And like I said, it happened to me growing up, and I've seen people that had happened to them growing up, that it gets to a point that it's kind of like unbelievable. Why would you go and speak to a child like that? And let me tell you, I have two stories that are big in my life that happened, of course, when I was a child, so many years ago. Um, this is crazy because, you know, like I said, there are really adult bullies out there, and they don't care if you are like 20 years younger than them. They will bully you and they will say mean things to you for no reason at all. So my story is that at one time, I remember, we knew this family. We were really good friends with them, and we used to go over the weekend, like, all the time. We used to go on the weekends all the time to play with their kids, and we were friends, grew up together and things like that. And I remember one Saturday morning we decided to go spend the day with them, me, my sister, my mom. And we were just there. And at one point when we got to the house, we had lunch and everything was great. We were ready to begin playing, and I remember entering a room, and the maid, listen to this, this is the maid, the person that was there to clean up after everybody. I don't even know how old I was. I know I was probably between 6 or 7 years old. And this maid just went off on me for no reason at all. Talk about like just not doing anything. She was saying, you do things that are so weird, and I don't know why you do things like that. And like, I remember just receiving so much anger from this lady. And I was just basically, growing up, if you know me, if you think I'm shy now, growing up I never even spoke to people. Like, this is how crazy it was. Like, even though I was in a house that everybody knew me, we were friends, and my mom was there, my sister, we grew up with their kids. I was still very reserved, so I didn't really have much to say. But I remember just walking in that room and just to meet up with the rest of the family, because I guess we finished eating or something. And this maid just went off on me for no reason at all. And I was basically frozen. All I remember, and people say, people might forget what you said to them, but they will never forget how you make them feel. And I remember just feeling so bad. And I was like, why all this anger is coming towards me? And I just froze and didn't say anything. And of course, my mom is not just gonna sit around. She's not just gonna sit around and see that happen and be okay with it. But I remember my mom said something to her. She said, "Don't speak to my child like that. What is your problem?" And then the lady left the room. Like I said, she's a maid, so she used to work for that family. And she got one thing I remember was that she got reprimanded by the the head of the household. And and I here I am, trying to spend a good Saturday with my friends at my friend's house, and this whole thing happening. Yes, she left the room, she was asked to leave, and then you heard them arguing with her, reprimanding her. And here I was like, what did I do? And then you just feel so guilty, because it's almost like your presence was a problem for this lady. And you cannot imagine. I can probably say that that lady was maybe on her, she was probably 21, 22, and I was, like I said, 7 years old. And to me, it's crazy the amount of stories that people have, because I guarantee you guys, like I said, I've seen other people have this happen to them, and I see myself in my life how that happened. So I can only imagine all the stories and how it perhaps affected you on your life choices, because some adult person decided to speak to you in a negative way. And that those are the things that people don't really speak about. Just growing up and like knowing about fashion and drawing clothes and art and stuff like that, I had so many stories of people that perhaps saw my drawings, and they made the effort to come to me and say, you should learn how to draw better. Like, I'm in my beginning stages, but they saw so much. Like, they just, I don't know if it was they were afraid or something, but they just felt the need. When it's bad when people make an effort to make sure that you're not good at what you're doing. you know like, that to me is crazy, but people do that. In the other crazy thing about that is that there's an age gap, so much so that this person could be my mom, but she's talking to me like this. And as you guys know, this doesn't happen just with like strangers on the street or at a park or at a school, or a professor that gets angry with you for no reason at all, who basically everything that you do is a problem to them. That's another thing. There are professors who take it up on against children. And man, I'm telling you, I had taught in church. I had a children's ministry I was in charge of. My main goal every time every Sunday, every Friday night that I was in charge of the kids, every Wednesday night, my main goal is to make sure that every kid was attended, and every kid felt well about everything they do. And I remember, I mean, the little ones. I mean, I had kids from all age range, and the little ones, when I was teaching the lesson, they will come to me with their drawings, and it was just like a Scrabble, like it was. You can't even tell what the drawing was, but I was teaching the big kids, and they made the effort to come to me because I was their teacher, just to show me their drawing, to stop me for what I was doing. And I remember, every time I made the effort to make sure I was like so. I guess you can say I was so happy to see their drawing, and I used to say to them, "It's beautiful. You did such a great job." And the way they left to go back to their table, they were so happy to get that reaction from me. And that that just really, like, it was just so beautiful to see that. And the crazy thing is that what's happening in a lot of places is people get into these jobs. It could be teachers, it could be people who teach a lesson or whatever, and they get so weird sometimes with some the comments that they can say to kids. And at the moment, your kid might forget, like, they might forget, right? They might go play. You go through that episode, and they're like, had a bad moment at a lesson that they take every week or something. Oh, the teacher was rude to me or whatever, and you go and buy them ice cream. But a lot of the times that stays with them, and that can perhaps affect their self-esteem a lot, and it can also have a big impact on their choices that they make for life. So for me in particularly, you know when people will see my drawings or that episode that I had with that maid at my friend's house, I just feel so like, what did I do that she got so angry with me? It's almost like she didn't even want to see me that day. And this lady was just going off on me for no reason at all. Like, I didn't even have had a conversation with her. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, now everybody hates me here. And because not only did they took, they reprimanded her, but then I just feel so bad, and I'm like, oh, I wish that never happened. So I was so embarrassed, even though I had nothing to do with that. And then the years pass, and you think, you're not going to encounter something like that, but then it keeps happening often. Like, I remember just leaving, coming to this country, when I was young too. I was like 12 years old, and just staying with my uncle's house. And just out of nowhere, man, I tell you, like, things that happen sometimes, and the way some adults speak to children is just insane. And it's kind of shocking to see somebody who's an adult with to speak on that level to a child, without knowing the impact that they can have on them. I'm not saying it affected me, because thankfully I grew up in the church and knowing Christ and all of that. I'm not saying, maybe in a moment that happened, like I say, it affected me obviously. But the reason that I'm sharing this story is because I know there's a lot of people that had gone through something like this. And this is not something rare. It happens all the time. And I remember just having lunch or dinner or something. I know we were sitting all at the dining table, and my uncle's wife, they're not married anymore, but my uncle's wife just turned to me and said, "You have such an ugly face." And I was like, wow. And the crazy thing is, because we were staying in that house, right? We were staying in that house. So basically, you're living under other people's terms. We were so new in this country. Like, my mom was so, like, I guess, like I told you guys, my mom is so fierce, and you know, she's not just gonna stay quiet. But at that moment, I remember her, she didn't even say anything. And I feel so bad. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this just happened. And you have to be there and continue having your food like nothing happened. Like, this lady just insulted you. And And it's almost like I knew that my mom couldn't say anything because we were living under their roof. And it was just so strange to me that she just went off like that on me for no reason. And I was like, then I have to live with these people. And I just felt like I would never, like, even if I'm angry about something that I shot or anybody, like, first of all, that's not my personality, but I was just like, I would never speak to anybody like that. And sometimes a lot of people, when you depend on them, especially for shelter, they think that they can say things to you like that. And the crazy thing is like God sees all of that. And like I'm getting like all like emotional about it, but God sees all of that. And there's a reason why things happen too. And people can say, "Oh, I remember my mom afterwards, she's like, oh, I didn't like how she talked to you like that. I don't like that." And it's almost like she kept saying that, like, I'm gonna get back on that because, like, I'm gonna get back, back to her because I didn't appreciate how she spoke to you like that. And I remember just saying, just ignore it. Like, I don't care. Just ignore it. But I knew the situation that we were in. Like, it's not like we could just be like angry with this family and be like, okay, let's pick up our stuff and go. We have really nowhere to go. So you're basically depending on them. But anyways, going back to that question, like, what are some of the most damaging things that were said to you when by an adult when you were a child? And like I said, it doesn't just happen with strangers. It happened with the media family. People say mean things, and sometimes you think that conversations like that can only happen within adults, but they're not on that level. It's almost like it's almost like you have adult bullies who grew up right, and went they never they never recovered themselves from that phase of being a bully, so they're still like a bully even though they're an adult. So they feel the need to constantly put somebody down regardless whether of your age. So they might see your child, I don't have any kids, but god forbid, like, even if I see on the streets like a mom or a dad like speaking to their child, like being so rude to them. I remember one time we were walking in New York City, and this man was going off on the kid because he dropped a soda that they just bought from Burger King. And I'm thinking to myself, anybody can do that. And she's like, "Oh, I wish I never had any kids." I can, like, those comments, like your child is hearing you saying that. That is so damaging. And people think that they can just be like, "Oh, he'll get over it. I'll just buy him his favorite toy tomorrow." And they're just doing that to make themselves feel better. And, in the moment the child can be back to normal, but that stays with them. Like I say, it has to be somebody who's very well grounded in the Lord. And when you're young like that, a lot of the times you're not in that connection with God. Like, you don't have that type of relationship yet. And I just feel like people they just need to just be careful because every word you say, it affects somebody. Everything you say. And what I was saying earlier was about unsolicited advice. That's the other thing. Like, you guys know, I have my own business and I open, and I don't know what it is, but people just assume I have no idea what I'm doing. And I mean, people come up to me, I'm not saying like last week, I'm saying when I first opened, people will be like, you should be on social media. And I'm thinking to myself, this person doesn't even make the effort to know what I'm doing. And like, I think I started in social media before I even had a studio. But there is a need out there. There is such a need out there to just share your opinion about what somebody else is doing because somehow it makes people feel good, even though they don't even know you, they don't know anything that you do. And it's like sometimes, you get to know people about what they chose to believe about you. And I had people, total strangers, come and say, I remember this guy. One time I met this guy, a coworker, who started working there. And then he saw, this is the thing, this is how crazy it was. Like, this guy saw my article in the newspaper. So he came over my desk and said, listen, you need to do this and the other. And I said, what are you talking about? And he made that thing with his hand, like, don't even say anything right now. He's like, go to New York and do this thing. And like, you just saw an article about me doing a fashion week in town, but you don't even have the decency to say anything about that. You just want to make sure that I, like, it's basically like, I'm gonna ignore that I just saw you a story, like that I just saw your story in the paper. I'm just gonna ignore that completely. I'm just gonna tell you that you're doing it wrong. You're doing it all wrong. You have to be in New York. And people think like you are the dumbest person on earth. It's like he rather not acknowledge that I was in the paper, that everybody in the office was talking about it. I was just there trying to do my job because obviously I'm not gonna walk around saying, "Oh, look at me, I'm in the paper." But he came over immediately and started telling me that I should be in New York, that I should talk to this person, that I should be doing this. But he doesn't even say anything about the thing, about fashion week that I was doing in town, about having my own business, everything that was said in the paper. He didn't care to say anything about that. He just wanted me to basically say, you're doing everything wrong and you should not be here at all. And then he walks off. And I was like, that is so ignorant. This guy doesn't even know that I have a website, that, where I sell my clothing, that if, who knows, what if I gave my 2 weeks already at this job? He just want to make sure that his opinion was more valuable than whatever it was that I was doing, even though everything was concerning me. And that's another thing these days. People, you know, there's a quote out there that says people um hate everything you do and then they start copying you. And that's another thing. People hate everything you do from the get-go. Like, to be honest, I get a lot more haters than people who are for me. And that's just things that I've seen throughout my entrepreneurship journey. People just basically hate everything I do, and then you see them 2 months down the road doing everything that I'm doing. But they somehow they make the effort to come and tell you that. And it's so crazy. Like, keep your opinions. Like, how valuable and beautiful would be if somebody say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I'm trying to do this, let's say, this fashion show. What do you think about it? What are your suggestions? People don't even wait this day for that. They don't even know you, okay? And they don't even want to see what you do, what your work is. They just basically shutting you down. Okay, there's no connection there. There's no, I want to get to know you, to like, maybe we can work together and collaborate and learn from each other. They don't want that connection of friendship. They just want you, they just want their advice and their opinion and give it to you. When I first opened my studio, another thing that started happening was, it's almost like people created this whole idea of like, when she comes in, you talk to her. Like, I remember people coming up to me. I used to go to this place where other artists will gather. And first of all, when I opened my studio, it was a very well thought out process, okay? And I remember seeing that posting of the office in January, and I didn't sign my lease into March. So that's 3 months. I was thinking throughout those 3 months, praying and thinking, okay, and even saying, if it's still there by March, I know it's mine. Like, I have to do it. So that's 3 months of me praying, thinking, and planning out what I'm gonna use this space for. And then the thing is, like, these days, people come into your life, they don't even know you, they don't even know the reason why you got started. They basically want to tell you things that you should be doing with what you have. And I'm all for advice, okay? I'm all for advice, and like, maybe God is sending somebody to talk to me, but at least you need to know, like, the reason I started. Like, at least get to know me first. Like, when I met some people, like I said, at this place where other artists will meet, Like, I had people just randomly come, hey, so you make all these clothes? Oh, you have your office. You should be teaching classes right now. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I have no interest in teaching because not because I don't like I'm okay teaching Bible class, but when it comes to teaching other people how to sew, I'm horrible because that's just not me. Like, I'm not like a teacher like that to be teaching drawing and art. That is not me. But these people, like, I remember this young lady was like so pinned to it. She said, you using that space, you should be teaching a class, getting kids together and teach. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't have no idea what I'm after, but yet you want me to do exactly what you expect. Like, if that's what you want, like, I'm thinking to myself, I wasn't rude to her, nothing like that. I just basically just stare at people like in all in like frozen because and she said, use that space to teach other people, have a class, have a this. And I'm thinking to myself, I have no interest of doing any of that. I didn't say that to her. I just said, okay, thank you. Like, who are, like, I don't even know her name. That's how bad it was. Like, I don't even know this lady. But then I learned that she actually was a cousin of the person that was running that whole artist thing. So, of course, they had conversations about me because everybody knows exactly what you should be doing with your life, right? And then I guess they sent her over because I'm not smart enough to do, you know, like I have, God gave me that office, but God doesn't, God, you know, God gave me that office that I had open for so many years, but I'm not smart enough to maintain it. So somebody else has to come and tell me exactly what to do with it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's totally not why I opened my studio. And it's such a small space. I remember thinking afterwards, I'm like, it is such a small space to have like a class. I don't even have seating. And I'm thinking, I don't even see myself teaching. That's not me. Like, I open my studio for many reasons, and I don't want to have to like put all of my materials away, my sewing machines away because I'm teaching a class today and put everything back out again because I'm teaching a class. I'm not teaching a class and have to work on a collection. That's not the reason. But these days, people don't want to even get to know you anymore. They don't want to know your reason. They don't even want to know your name or what you do. They just want to basically say, "Oh, you're a fashion designer. You should be doing this, and the other." Okay, bye. Let me go talk to somebody else over there. Like, what happened to these days where people are having some type of friendship with you before they even lay down exactly what you should do with your life? And I know I'm going a little off topic, but these are the things like that it affects you so much because at least in my case it affects me. I can only speak for myself. Like, what I seen is just this. I guess the whole social media movement had made people do stuff like that. You know, um, and the same thing goes with like having like an item. You sell an item to somebody. Like, I sold. I guess I can honestly say I covered the entire United States. Like, somebody in the United States in every state had bought something from Julissa Designs. But the minute I started making the face mask, it is so crazy, and I started selling to people, you know, I didn't I didn't promote the face masks at all. Like, I made a posting after I saw so many people buying them, and I was selling them so cheap because I know it was such a need when the whole thing happened. And the minute families started buying it from me, and people that knew me, that actually knew me from workplaces and things like that, and they bought because they saw on Facebook or something that I was making them, nobody will give you feedback more like horrible than somebody that you know personally. This is so insane because I guarantee you guys, if somebody had bought something from Amazon and they didn't like it, they'll be like, oh, you know what, I'll never buy them again. I'll just get them at another store, Walmart or something. But because it's you and they know you, they want to make sure you know that you did something wrong. Anyways, guys, I guess I can do another video, another episode about this. I'm almost running out of time, but I do want you guys to go to the blog and write to me if you remember any one of the most damaging things you have ever heard from an adult said to you as a child. I know not a lot of people speak about this, but we have to, guys. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to my podcast. Have a good night, everybody. God bless.